There is a curious paradox in life. To love is unconditional, but to be loved is conditional. At first, this may seem like a contradiction, a flaw in the fabric of our existence. Yet, if we dare to look closer, we begin to see the truth beneath it. It's a truth we often avoid, a truth buried under layers of expectations and societal programming. By the time we reach our 30s or 40s, most of us have witnessed enough of life's intricacies to know that the fairy tales we once believed in, those tales of love that came easy, that arrived like some grand reward, were at best charming illusions. We begin to understand that love does not always appear as the just reward for our virtues. It doesn't remain fixed just because we've been loyal or patient. We watch as love slips through our fingers, no matter how tightly we hold on. Sometimes we find ourselves with the one we love, yet feel like strangers across a table, two souls separated by invisible walls. At other times, we chase love from heart to heart, thinking that perhaps the next embrace, the next yes, will finally fill the hollow inside. But that hollow remains, echoing the emptiness we thought we could fill. And so we ask, why is something as natural as love so elusive? Why does it often seem like a labyrinth of conditions, bargains, and quiet disappointments? Perhaps the answer lies in something we've avoided for so long. For most of us, love as we know it is not love at all. It is a performance, a game, a transaction. From the moment we take our first breath, the world whispers a bargain in our ear. Love is something you must earn. Be good, be obedient, and you will be loved in return. Be strong, be beautiful, be worthy of admiration, and you will be cherished. But here's the truth. This is not love. It is simply a transaction masquerading as tenderness. We have mistaken the appearance of love for the thing itself, the structure that holds love for the living, breathing essence it was meant to carry. Like merchants bound by contract, we give and take, believing that this exchange holds the key to love's fulfillment. But the reality is this: bargains can hold people together, but they cannot nourish them. A bargain may keep two people in close proximity, but it will never feed the soul. And when the terms of the agreement are no longer met, whether by time, circumstance, or simply the ebb and flow of life, the warmth fades. The connection that once sparked with life becomes a shadow of what it once was, leaving us wondering, was this ever love? Or was it merely a contract, a delicate arrangement that we mistook for something real? To love unconditionally, without the expectation of return, is to step beyond the confines of a transaction. It is to give freely, not to be acknowledged or repaid, but simply because giving is an expression of who we are. Yet, the paradox remains. We cannot give such love unless we first release the desperate need to be loved in return. And therein lies the lesson we so often resist. True love begins not by seeking it, but by embodying it. So, take a moment and ponder this paradox. What if love, true love, is not something to be earned, but something to be given freely? What if the love you seek from others is already inside you, waiting to be released? The first step in answering this question is to let go of the need for love to be a transaction, to stop expecting it to show up as a reward for good behavior. Perhaps then, in that surrender, we will finally find the freedom to love as we were always meant to, unconditionally, without strings, without expectations. We are told from the moment we can understand words that love is something to be earned. From childhood, we learn that affection is granted when we behave well, when we meet certain standards, when we give of ourselves in a way that satisfies the needs of others. We are taught that love is a reward for good deeds, a prize for patience, for devotion, for loyalty. But what if this entire belief is the very thing that makes love so elusive? Alan Watts often spoke of the mistaken notion that love is a transaction. In our pursuit of love, we act as if there are invisible scales, measuring the good we give against the love we receive. If we are lucky, we meet someone who plays by the same rules, and for a moment, it feels like a beautiful exchange. But the truth is, this is not love at all. It is a contract, a careful negotiation, an arrangement that, like all contracts, is subject to terms and conditions. Imagine two people bound by such a contract. One gives their time, their energy, their devotion, expecting it to be met with equal exchange. The other gives in return, but only so long as their needs are being met. What happens when one of them stops fulfilling their side of the bargain? The love fades, the connection unravels, and neither person feels fully nourished, for their love was never real. It was a deal, a transaction, wrapped in the guise of affection. This is the paradox. We give love with the hope that it will be returned. But in doing so, we are not loving freely. We are loving with conditions. We are loving with the expectation that if we give enough, we will earn the right to be loved in return. But love is not something to be earned. It cannot be bought or traded or bargained for. Love is not an exchange of goods, but a state of being, a gift that arises from the fullness of who we are, not from the desire to get something in return. Think about it this way. When we give with the expectation of return, we are not truly giving. We are investing, banking on a future reward. But real love has no expectation, no ledger to balance. It is the quiet offering of oneself, the outpouring of care and affection without the need to measure, to count, to track what we receive. And yet, the illusion remains. We have been taught to see love as something we must earn, something we must prove we are worthy of. We give because we think it will secure our place in the hearts of others. But what we often end up with is a relationship founded on the fragility of expectations. A connection that can only hold together as long as both parties continue to meet the terms of the contract. But real love, the kind that nourishes and sustains, is not built on such precarious foundations. True love is freely given, not to earn favor, but to express the fullness of who we are. And when love is given from this place without expectation, without calculation, it becomes something beautiful, something transformative. Now, here's where the paradox deepens. We cannot give love freely if we are starving for it. We cannot offer love without strings attached when we are still waiting for it to fill us up, to validate us, to complete us. Love that is conditional cannot be freely given. It is, by its nature, a form of seeking. We are seeking to be loved, seeking to be valued, seeking to fill a void that only love can heal. But the truth is, the void does not need filling. The need for love begins to fade when we realize that we are already whole, already loved, already complete. And when we arrive at that understanding, when we no longer beg for love, but simply give it because it is our nature to do so, the game of exchange falls away. There is no ledger, no scorekeeping. There is simply the joy of loving and being loved. So, what if the love you seek from others is not something you must earn, but something that flows naturally from your own being? What if the key to receiving love is not to chase it, but to stop seeking it altogether? To rest in the truth that you are already worthy of it. True love begins not in the effort to earn it, but in the freedom to give it, unconditionally. And when we are no longer bound by the need to be loved, love begins to flow effortlessly, naturally, just as it was always meant to. True love is not a transaction. It is not a contract, not a bargain, and not a game to be played. It is freedom. It is the release of all conditions, the giving of oneself without expecting anything in return. Love, when it is truly free, flows like a river, unburdened by the weight of demands or expectations. It does not ask for anything in return. It simply is. Alan Watts often spoke about the liberation that comes with letting go of the need to be loved. There is a profound freedom in loving without any strings attached. But here's the paradox. This freedom can only arise when we cease to beg for love. It's not that we become indifferent to it, but that we no longer need it to define us. We stop chasing after it, stop attaching our worth to the affection of others. Instead, we give love because it is a natural outpouring of who we are, not because we are trying to fill a void or get something back. To love freely is to release the chains of expectation, The world teaches us that love must be earned, that it is a reward for good behavior, that it is something to be sought after, something we must fight for. But love, in its truest form, does not follow these rules. It is not something we must earn or struggle for. It is not a reward. It is a gift that flows naturally when we stop trying to control it, when we stop trying to manage it, when we stop measuring it. Think about the sun. The sun does not ask for anything in return. It shines because that is its nature. It does not demand acknowledgement from the earth. It does not worry about whether it is shining bright enough or whether the earth will appreciate it. It simply shines. And in shining, it gives warmth, light, and life. The sun does not need to be thanked for its rays, nor does it need to be praised for its presence. It simply gives. And in that giving, it creates abundance. This is the essence of free love. It is not given to get something in return. It is not a means to an end. It is the act of loving for the sake of loving, because love is who we are at our core. We are not loving to be loved back. We are loving because it is our nature to do so. Love, in its truest form, is not about clinging, not about holding on, not about possession. It is about freedom. Freedom to give without fear. Freedom to love without expectation. Now, consider this. Many of us fear that we will lose something if we love freely. We fear that if we give too much, we will be left with nothing. We fear that love will be taken from us, that it will be abused or misunderstood. But in truth, love is not something that can be taken away. Love, when it is truly free, cannot be diminished by others. The more freely we give, the more love we receive. Not because we are seeking it, but because the very act of loving freely opens us up to the love that is already around us. Love, like a river, flows through us. And when we stop damming it up with conditions, it floods the world with its abundance. This is where the magic of love lies. It is not in the grasping, not in the desperate need to be loved back, but in the giving. The act of giving love without expecting anything in return is the most liberating thing we can do. When we give love freely, we are not seeking approval, we are not seeking validation, and we are not seeking to fix anything. We are simply offering our love, unencumbered by the weight of expectation. And here's the key. We can only give love freely when we have first learned to love ourselves in the same way. If we are still seeking love from others to validate our worth, to fill our emptiness, we will never be able to give love freely. But when we recognize that we are already whole, already loved, already enough, we can give from a place of abundance. The love we give flows from a well that never runs dry, because it is not dependent on anything outside of ourselves. True love, in its purest form, is a dance, an effortless, joyous, spontaneous expression of who we are. It is not about finding someone to complete us. It is about sharing the love that is already within us. And when we can love freely, when we can love without expectation, without fear, and without need, we find that love is everywhere. It is in every breath, in every smile, in every moment of connection. Love is not something to be sought, it is something to be recognized. So here is the invitation. Let go of the need to be loved, and instead, love freely. Love without expectation. Love without need. Love because it is your nature to do so. And when you do, you will find that love is not something you chase. It is something that flows effortlessly through you, nourishing and sustaining you in ways you never imagined. Love, in its truest form, is freedom. And in that freedom, you will discover the most profound truth. You are already loved. To truly understand love, we must first understand ourselves. The most profound paradox that exists within the realm of love is this. We cannot truly love others until we have learned to love ourselves. Not in the superficial, narcissistic sense of self-love that the world often promotes, but in the deeper, more profound sense of acceptance and recognition. To love yourself is not to idolize or to demand anything from the world. It is to embrace who you are without reservation, to accept your flaws, your mistakes, and your imperfections as parts of the whole that make you uniquely yourself. Alan Watts often spoke of the idea that we are not separate from life. We are not isolated beings struggling to find meaning. We are, in fact, life itself, unfolding in this very moment. When we come to this realization, we stop chasing external validation. We stop seeking approval from others as a way to prove our worth. We begin to understand that we are already whole, already loved, and already worthy. Love begins to shift from something we are trying to get to something we are simply embodying. But the truth is, most of us spend much of our lives looking for love in the wrong places. We search for it in the eyes of others, in their approval, their affection, their admiration. We try to fill the emptiness within us by seeking the love we believe we lack. And yet, the more we search for it outside, the more elusive it becomes. We create relationships where we are constantly giving and giving, hoping that the love we give will be returned in equal measure. And yet, when it is not, we feel drained, unappreciated, even unworthy. But here's the key. Love cannot be given freely unless we stop seeking it in others. We must first learn to give love to ourselves, not because we are perfect or because we have earned it, but simply because we are worthy of it. We are deserving of love, not because of what we do, but because we exist. We are part of the fabric of life, a thread woven into the greater tapestry of existence, and we have as much right to love as the stars have to shine. When we love ourselves in this way, without judgment or reservation, we begin to see the world differently. We no longer need the approval of others to feel complete. We no longer need validation to feel loved. And it is only from this place of self-acceptance and self-love that we can truly love others. Not because we are trying to fill some gap or need, but because love, in its purest form, is a natural outpouring of who we are. So, the question becomes, how do we learn to love ourselves in this way? First, we must stop seeing ourselves as broken, incomplete, or in need of fixing. We must stop striving to be someone we are not, stop measuring our worth by the standards of others, and begin to embrace who we are in this moment. Every part of us, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the messy, is deserving of love. And when we can accept ourselves fully, when we can love ourselves without conditions, we stop seeking love from others as a way to fill the emptiness we believe exists within us. Second, we must stop pretending that love is something to be earned or achieved. Love is not a goal, not a destination. It is a state of being, a way of relating to the world and to ourselves. To love ourselves is to acknowledge that we are enough, just as we are. We do not need to prove anything. We do not need to chase after approval or affection. We are worthy of love simply because we are here, because we exist. When we begin to love ourselves in this way, we stop searching for love outside of ourselves. We stop needing others to complete us, and instead, we begin to see that we are already whole. We are not incomplete beings trying to find our other half. We are already full, already whole, already loved. And it is from this place of wholeness that we can truly love others. Love is not about seeking something from another person. It is about sharing what we already have. It is the outpouring of the love that exists within us. When we love ourselves deeply, we no longer need to rely on others to fill our hearts. Our hearts are already full, and we are free to love others freely, without expectation, without fear, without need. True love arises not from the desperation of wanting to be loved, but from the freedom of knowing that we are already loved. We are loved by life itself, by the very force that brought us into being, by the universe that surrounds us and holds us in its embrace. And when we realize this, we no longer search for love. We simply become love, flowing out into the world and into the lives of those around us. So, ask yourself, are you willing to stop seeking love and begin living as love? Are you ready to embrace the truth that you are already whole, already worthy, already loved? Because when you do, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing love. You stop begging for it. You simply give it, freely, without expectation. And in that giving, you discover the most profound truth. You are already loved. You always have been, and you always will be. In that moment, love becomes not something to seek, but something to be. And in that being, you will find a freedom that is beyond measure. Life is not a destination, it is a dance. And love is not something we need to chase, grasp, or possess. It is something we must learn to flow with. Like a dance, life has its rhythm, its pulse, its natural movements. And when we surrender to that rhythm, we discover that love is always present, always available, always flowing. But it is only when we stop struggling to control it, to direct it, that we can experience the fullness of it. Alan Watts often spoke of life as a cosmic dance. It is not a race, not a competition, not a struggle against the current. Life is a flow, a rhythm that moves through us, with us, and around us. When we stop trying to control every step, when we stop planning out every move, we find that we are no longer fighting life, we are dancing with it. And in that dance, love is not something we seek, it is something we embody. Consider this: the moment we stop demanding love, the moment we stop trying to force it to show up in our lives, we open ourselves to receive it. The paradox of love is that it cannot be forced, it must be allowed. Love, in its purest form, is not a product of effort. It is a natural expression of being. It flows like a river, uninterrupted by the rocks and obstacles in its path. It does not struggle to be what it is, it simply is. When we align ourselves with the flow of life, when we trust the rhythm of existence, we find that love flows effortlessly. We are no longer chasing after it, because we realize that it has always been here, always been within us, always been waiting for us to stop grasping, to stop striving, and to simply be. But the key to this freedom is surrender. Not surrender as a form of defeat, but surrender as a form of trust. To surrender is to trust that life knows what it is doing. To surrender is to step into the dance without worrying about the steps, without worrying about the outcome. It is to trust that the music will carry us, that the rhythm will guide us, and that everything will unfold as it should. In this surrender, we discover the joy of being fully present, fully alive, fully in tune with the flow of existence. And in that presence, love becomes a natural expression of who we are. It is not something we must fight for, not something we must earn. It is simply something we give, because it is our nature to give. But here's where the dance gets truly beautiful. When we begin to love ourselves in this way, we no longer need to seek love from others. We no longer need to measure our worth by the love we receive or the affection we get. We are already whole, already loved, already complete. And from this place of wholeness, we can love others freely, without fear, without expectation, and without need. True love, the kind of love that is not based on transaction or condition, arises from the deepest parts of us. It is the overflow of our own being, the natural expression of our own wholeness. And when we give love from this place, when we love without needing anything in return, we find that love is not just something we give, it is something that multiplies, it expands, it spreads. Love, like a dance, is not about taking, it is about sharing. When two people are aligned with their own rhythms, when they are fully themselves, love flows between them naturally. There is no clinging, no control, no attempt to possess. There is only the joy of sharing, the joy of being in harmony with another person. And this is the most beautiful kind of love, the kind that is not based on need but on freedom. In the dance of life, there are no winners or losers. There is no destination, no final goal to be reached. There is only the movement, the rhythm, the ebb and flow of existence. And when we learn to move with that rhythm, when we stop fighting against it, when we stop trying to force life into a shape it was never meant to take, we discover that life and love are not something we must pursue. They are something we must allow. So, ask yourself, are you ready to stop chasing love? Are you ready to stop striving for it, forcing it, demanding it? Are you ready to step into the dance and simply let love flow through you? Because when you do, you will find that love is not something that comes to you when you are worthy. It is something that comes to you when you stop seeking it and start being it. Love, in its purest form, is not a prize. It is the very rhythm of life, flowing through every moment, every breath, every heartbeat. And when we surrender to that rhythm, we become part of something much larger than ourselves. Dance that has been unfolding since the beginning of time. A dance that will continue long after we are gone. To love, to truly love, is to let go, to trust the flow, and to give without expectation. And when we do, we discover the freedom that is always available to us. The freedom to love, to be loved, and to dance through life in perfect harmony with all that is.